without further ado, I'm going to get going tonight, and the purpose of tonight is really to just kind of introduce you guys to the Summit Learning curriculum. You know, some of you have researched it, some have not, some have listened to what they heard on the media, some have not. There's a lot about it, but it is great stuff, as hopefully we're going to find out here as we go. So the map up there is what you see is Summit Learning is a curriculum that goes across the country. It started out in California and is now and has come all the way to the East Coast, and there's over 400 schools that are Summit Learning schools, which equates to about over 60,000 students. So there's a lot of students doing this, but here in North Carolina, we're it. Okay, we are, and I say that with a caveat. There is a school, the Research Triangle High School in Durham. They're technically a Summit Learning school, but they broke off to do their own thing, and kind of if you don't do it to fidelity, it's really hard to be a Summit Learning school. As we get going tonight, I want to let you know I'm not gonna sit up here and yap to you for an hour or so, I promise, because I wouldn't let my teachers do it, so I'm not going to do it either. So it'll be a combination of we'll talk about the slides. There's some videos, and like I said, this slide is up here to show that Summit Learning is just not some creation. Summit Learning has been around for more than a dozen years, and it is one of the most research-based curriculums anywhere. And I draw your attention to SCALE. And SCALE basically is the Stanford University Center for Learning. This program was designed under their auspices. And if anyone's familiar with Stanford University, you know that alone sets the credibility right there. But and these other organizations, as you can see, they're also in support of this curriculum. Okay, so we're going to get started with, because you know there's two things, there's a mission and a vision. We all know what the mission is. That's probably the primary reason everybody's here. But we also have our vision. And the vision is how we carry out our mission, and our vision for this school is to make sure that every student in Apprentice Academy High School works to their fullest potential, and when they graduate Apprentice Academy High School, they're going to be ready for something, whether it's work or college. They're not going to leave school with an inability to provide anybody any type of service or skill. They will graduate and they will have much to offer, both academically and career-wise. How do we do that? Okay, because there's a strategy to this curriculum, and I just want to clarify. You know, a lot of times when people think of curriculum, they think of coursework, English, math, science, social studies. That's not curriculum. Those are courses that are built. Those are courses that fill out a curriculum. You have a curriculum, you have the courses, and the curriculum is what determines how teachers teach and how students learn. Okay, because at the end of the day, everybody can make an argument about mine is better than yours and so forth, but really you have to show that for that to have any meaning. So the way Summit Learning does it is extremely unique, and there's two main reasons we adopted it. One is because the uniqueness of it, and two, as we'll find out later, is the built-in mentorship. There's no other curriculum that I'm aware of anyway that has that as part of the curriculum. So everyone wants to know what's important is what do the teachers think about this? Okay, remember I said 400 schools, 60,000 plus students. So so right now we're going to listen to what some teachers have to say about this.
So our program is set up in a way that our students are taking responsibility for their learning. However, that doesn't mean they don't have support from the teacher. We facilitate projects. That means that I am actually standing in front of the classroom and leading discussions and letting them take over, but I'm not sitting at my desk and not doing anything. I am letting them explore different ways of learning and being able to depend on each other, because ultimately we're asking them to become citizens of the country and of the world. They need to be able to communicate with one another. That doesn't mean that I'm not there. It just means that I am helping them figure out their path and figure out their way. The teacher still plays a vital role in the Summit classroom, because they have to be able to explain things to students in their terminology and in their terms and bring them up to that academic standard and even beyond that standard.
Okay, hopefully you found that well, as informational as I did anyway, but I want to talk about the professional development, because on July 8th, that's when myself and the staff, we go out to Louisville for our formal training. So to give you an idea how much Summit Learning is invested in all their schools, they fully fund the travel, everything, to send teachers and school leaders into one central location where they have us as a captive audience for 1 week to train us to do Summit Learning the way they want it, to do it to fidelity. So great opportunity for us, and especially when it comes to the cost. But and the other thing is, to give you an idea how invested they also are in parents, I don't know if anyone in this room got a call, but Summit Learning contacted me. They wanted names of several parents who might be interested in being sent to Louisville, and I don't know if I'm guessing you got that contact. So, Tamika, anything comments on that or anything? Or?
Well, I was excited. I'm assuming, unfortunately, we weren't able to meet that number.
Right.
To get enough parents, so they had to reschedule.
Okay.
For the fall, but
Okay.
I was looking. They had it scheduled for July 11th.
Okay.
But there's not enough parents for it.
Right, because that's right. Because that's right in the middle of our training. So yeah, so they were gonna fly a group of parents down to Louisville, where they were gonna meet all the Summit Learning executives, and then when they do all their tours, they would go see different Summit Learning schools in the greater Louisville area, and then the parents would come and see what we're all doing for training. So I don't know how many other curriculums are out there, or any other programs, philosophies that are that invested not only in the staff but in the parents. God bless you if you can find it, but I have heard nothing. I'm not aware of anything else to this extent. So this whole concept of Summit Learning is based on one thing: that's student success. There's student outcomes, there's the Summit Learning components, and then there's school design. The school design, I'm not really going to talk about that tonight, because that they're talking about the master schedule there. My role in this is to make sure my students and staff get everything they need for Summit Learning, and the mentoring. And my role in that is to make sure the master schedule reflects that, so that everyone gets the time to do what they need to do. So here's something that every parent that I've ever known in school, to include myself and my wife, is concerned about: student outcomes. And with Summit Learning, there are 3 student outcomes. As you can see, the 3 type up there is cognitive skills, content knowledge, and then habits of success. What the cognitive skills are, those are the skills that both employers and colleges expect of students. So, short version of saying is, they expect young people who graduate high school to be able to think for themselves, problem solve, be critical thinkers, and all that. Summit Learning, that's one of our focuses. The first outcome is cognitive skills. Each unit, each course, each lesson that the core curriculum, and I failed to mention it before, the Summit Learning only works with the 4 core subjects: math, science, English, and social studies. The other elective type courses, they're not part of this. So strictly the 4 content courses. And each one of those courses, units, instruction they teach, there are cognitive skills associated with that. And there's 36 of them. So I wasn't going to bore you with all 36. What you need to know is that every single lesson has a minimum of 1, if not, but typically at least 2 or 3. But there's 36 that students over time will master. And it doesn't matter where they're functioning, they're going to work on those skills, no matter where they are. Okay, the next one is content knowledge. That's a fancy word for the math, science, social studies, and English. This is the content they're going to learn while they're in high school. The last one here is habits of success. Yes, with Summit Learning in high school, we're expecting students to develop habits that will make them successful for today, tomorrow, and 30 years from now. Okay, and one of the big ones we find out, at least my experience as a high school principal, has been perseverance is a challenge for a lot of students. Because why? It's easier to quit than it is to persevere and move on. We're not going to let them do that. Okay, so in order to accomplish what I just talked about, there has to be a means of doing it. And there are what we call 3 components to Summit Learning. As I mentioned earlier before, anybody could probably make a very good argument for their curriculum and their program as being the best. But when I looked at for different ones, how we were going to do it with this school, because the career side was easy to figure out, but there has to be something that coincides with the career part, because what on earth are our employers expecting our students to be able to do? And they don't know how to do it unless someone shows them how to do it. So the one thing I know for a fact, almost a fact, is that no one else, no other curriculum has what I consider to be the most important part of what we're doing here is the mentoring. Those mentors, if you're wondering, how is my kid going to get through this? How are we going to do this? We've never seen this before. There's absolutely nothing like it, which is absolutely true. And they can't do it on their own. So we provide them the support.
In the traditional classroom, it's just the way that it's set up. It was impossible for me to reach every child. Impossible.
With Summit, every child is mentored weekly, and they get to speak with their teacher, and they have time with their teacher, and they are met where they're at, which allows them to have that authentic dialogue.
So we're working on math, and your projects are all done?
Oh yeah, all my projects are done.
All right, and what's the...
Because I didn't have a mentor last year, it was harder. It was like I couldn't do work, like I couldn't focus. But now that I have my mentor this year, it helps a lot. It's like, if I ever have something on my mind and I can't do my work, I just go to her and just let it out, and she's there.
They're not used to having a connection with their teachers in this way. Somebody to say, what is your goal today? What are you going to work on? What is your focus? What's our focus for today?
My focus for today is to finish math. And then hopefully...
To have that thought partner in their curriculum, they're not used to that. I wasn't used to that. But we are treating a child, we're like the whole kid now.
University of St. Thomas and Duke, okay.
By mid-October, I was looking around saying, man, I know these kids so well this year. If this mentoring piece weren't part of it, I don't know that it would be as successful for me as well as the kids.
And the second component is the projects. And I have to give a caveat. It says math units because math, as you might expect, is done a little differently than the other three subjects. They kind of have their own way of doing it, but it's still in the concept of a project. And and the projects are 70% of their grade. Okay, so if you compare that to a traditional high school where students are graded based on what they get on an assessment. There's a bunch of assessments along the way, and then the end is what we call a summative assessment, a final test of some kind. You can guess on it, not guess on it. But it doesn't really determine, it doesn't show you what a student could do or not do. The idea behind projects, as you could imagine, they demonstrate what they could do, and they don't demonstrate it to me. They demonstrate it to themselves and to the teacher. Later in the fall, we'll talk about how grading works. Everyone's familiar with Power School. I'm sure if you've been in a public school, you know what Power School is. All the grades go in there. So any type of grades earned, at some point it all translates to an A, B, C, or D, because that's what Power School understands. So that everything translates that, and whether you apply to college or going to work afterwards, everyone will see what we all expect when you're coming out of high school, letter grades. But it's just a different method of getting there. Excellent question. In the state of North Carolina, charter schools are not required to follow the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. However, we're still held accountable to testing. And for those of you who don't know, in high school, there's 3 of them, at least currently. Anyway, there's Math 1, that if you're a 9th grader starting out, that you must take. There's an EOC with that. The other one is English 2, which is typically a 10th grade course. And then Biology has an EOC, which is also a 10th grade course. Those are the required EOCs. Now, starting this year, there's one more. So if I have any rising 11th graders and they're going to take Math 3, Math 3 also has an EOC. However, that's not a requirement. It's only for the students in that class. So the only classes that we will teach exactly to the North Carolina Standard Course of Study will be those courses, because I need to know that all my students have received every bit of information they need to pass that test. Because there are charter high schools out there that they only offer algebra. That's great. I could do that too, but here's the problem. Although algebra may be a good part of Math 1, it's not all of it. So what happens to the rest of the course if you don't teach it? So that's why those EOC, if there's an EOC course, you just understand they're going to get the whole thing as if they were sitting in any other high school, because we can't risk not doing it. Does that make sense? But outside of that, then we offer all kinds of different things. Okay, and then the final part is a self-directed learner. Yes. When I've spoken to some parents, I'm sure there's been concern. What is he talking about? They're going to be working sometimes by themselves or in groups. Yes, they will. It's completely radically different than anything you've ever seen in a high school, but that's what it's supposed to be. They need to be able to learn for themselves. that's expected of when they graduate high school. I'm sure we'd all agree, you know, you have to think and do for yourself in high school, and in college, same thing. You have to be a self-directed learner. There's not a college professor standing over you saying, "Ooh, you know, your quiz is due on Monday." Anyone think a professor cares about that? No. They tell you what it is, you do it or you don't. It makes no difference to them. So we try to teach them to be a self-directed learner. The next step is talking about the project-based learning. And
Alrighty, can I have your attention please? We just started our solar cell projects. Remember, your final product is going to be to build a solar cell device. What we're going to do today is we're going to play around with some solar cells, and you're going to try to figure out how they work. Learning science from a book is one thing, and the theory is fine, but I think kids at this stage, they really need their hands on. So for the first 3 minutes, all I want you to do is open up the materials and start playing with them. Try to figure out how they work. The project is really teaching them the engineering design process. They're going to go through a series of steps or checkpoints, and they have to design a device that uses solar cells. Can I see your setup? They're going to do a group brainstorm, then they'll do an initial design, get some feedback, then they'll go back to the redesign and fix it and tweak it until they think it's ready to present. Let's see if it works.
I can see it visually instead of just like saying what happens. Like he actually shows us that it actually does work and it does the process it goes through. One right here.
We want to get them motivated by asking, how does this work? What happens when we add this component? What happens if we change the type of light frequency? So that's a big cog skill that, especially in the science community, that we need to make sure that they are able to effectively wield. I feel like everyone's born curious, and if you capture that curiosity, it hooks them into the project and it gets them thinking about it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to be curious.
head to self-directed learning.
So what I want you to do.
Content's important, but it's more about getting the kids to understand who they are and how they learn. Our kids can articulate to you now what kind of learner they are. Am I kinesthetic? How do I learn best? And taking notes. Am I an auditory learner? They can all tell you. They couldn't in the beginning of the year. And I think that's one of the biggest things the kids learned along the way is how do I learn?
So it's changed. I felt like I've learned more now. So if I ever struggled with something before, it was like you struggled. That's the end of it. Teacher's done teaching it. That's it. Now it's like if I'm struggling with something, I get to keep learning it, and I actually like learn it.
Just to see that process change, to see the kids learn where the resources are, learn how to go outside the resources and find things themselves. They've changed a lot.
That I don't know if you were able to see it, you know, the area where the self-directed learning program, there was a lot of students working independently, a couple of the groups working on their laptops. And those who met with you, that's what I was talking about. In this building, I showed you the architect rendering those who came in the building, but here, on the other side of the gym, the church has something they call a fellowship hall. It's just a big room, tables, chairs, and so forth, but that'll be our, until we get the new building, that's going to be our collaborative space for students to be. So when we start up August 26th, students are going to be spread all over this building, either working in classrooms individually and in that big room back there doing this self-directed learning. And the final part of it is in order to be able to personalize lessons for students, there has to be a mechanism to do it. So the main part of that we've been talking about is the learning platform. And so we will issue students Chromebooks, and on those Chromebooks, the teachers will have their lessons, assignments, and so forth.
Every student learns differently, and every student should be able to reach their full potential. Introducing the Summit Learning Platform, a free online tool that empowers personalized learning in any classroom. Students can set goals for school, college, and beyond, and learn how to connect each goal to their daily actions with mentoring from their teachers. The Summit Learning Platform comes with over 200 projects where students can apply their knowledge and develop deeper learning skills, allowing students to practice collaboration, communication, and problem solving to help them connect the classroom to the real world. Students work through content at their own pace and take assessments to demonstrate their understanding so that they can discover how they learn best, making them aware of what they are learning and why they are learning it. Real-time information allows students to reflect on their progress. teachers can coach their students and customize instruction to fit each student's individual needs, all while being supported by a robust teacher guide and a nationwide community of educators. The Summit Learning Platform is the most comprehensive free tool available to bring personalized learning to your classroom, giving teachers more time to build stronger relationships with students, so that every student can be successful in the classroom and beyond. Bring personalized learning to your classroom with the Summit Learning Platform.
Some parents have spoke to me on the side, said, they're concerned with the platform. Well, that's all online learning and my student won't have any contact with their teacher. Nothing could be further from the truth. The teacher is always aware of everything the student is doing at any given time.
A lot of people have this misconception that students walk in, they open up their platform, and they just get to work without any direct instruction or teaching from the teacher in the classroom. But truly, those teachers are just able to be more precise and pinpointed on what they need to be working on with students. I know that there's not a student in any of my classrooms that doesn't ever get that opportunity to work with the teacher. So every day it's a different small group, a different workshop, a different pull-out based on what the data is saying, based on whether the students are behind, on track, or ahead. And so we really focus on making sure that every single one of those groups are getting the attention and that direct instruction that they need. I think people have this idea that students are sitting on a computer for their entire day and the teacher is somewhere else behind their computer as well, and that's just not what it is. My teachers in the classroom are working with students every day, moving around the classroom, doing small groups, delivering instruction. It just looks a little bit different.
It's one thing to hear from me, but I promise this will be our last video tonight, but it's important for the students to see and hear what other students across the country are thinking about the summer learning.
When I started summer learning, I used to say, I really don't care. Like I would say, I'm not gonna do it.
Coming into 6th grade education, she didn't see as a valid path towards what she wanted in life. It was more of an obligation than an opportunity. She was stuck in this mode of, it's my way and I'm gonna do it, and if you don't like it, oh well.
I guess like until the middle of the year, I kind of got worried and I was like, okay, I need to get started. I remember saying for next year, I'm gonna actually do a lot better.
So you reached your phenomena, right? So you said, I wanted to learn about seasons. So you went in and to the focus area. What Summit does perfectly is it takes that student-centered idea and it provides you with the tools you need to support that student, right? So things like the data on them, where exactly are they struggling, what exactly are they interested in, and what are their goals for the future, and merging that all together with that curiosity.
It helps me better because like it's just us two. It's not like a whole group that we're all like sharing at the same time. It helps you actually learn what you need help with, and it helps you actually understand the concept you're learning.
Alrighty, can I have your attention, please? So if you're done filling out this tiny URL, what I need you to do is try to answer this question: what is a wave? She's really aware of how she learns and when she needs to use different techniques based on what she's learning and the difficulty of it. She learned really quickly that she is a social learner. She'll get a small group of students together, they'll do notes together, do a study group, they'll quiz each other.
Sometimes I don't get something by myself, and while in groups we can actually like work together and break it down, like each one of us, and that's when I kind of like get it.
So we just started our solar cell projects. Remember, your final product is going to be to build a solar cell device. She now has a lot more confidence in herself and in her academic ability. Before she would come in and say, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it. Now she's, oh, I can do that, it's real simple. Along with that, she's more motivated. She sees the goal, she sets it, and she works towards it and doesn't stop until she reaches it. And if she has setbacks, she can articulate why she got set back, and she can say, this is exactly what happened, this is where I went wrong, this is what needs to change next time. And for an 8th grader to be able to say exactly where her learning stopped is amazing. She sees education as her best option and her best chance to achieve what she wants in life.
I think I am now a better learner. I learned that I'm a very determined person, that if I want it, I'll get it. I've learned that I can do a lot of things. It's just if I put my mind to it.
Sitting at a desk and stuff is kind of boring because you and everyone else are all the same. Everyone says that you want to be different, be your own person. That's what pretty much Summit is.
I think it basically means how you learn best. I feel like it's easier because we can go as fast or as slow as we need to. They're not exactly telling you what to do right away, but they're telling you how you can get better at it, which is really helpful. I like how I can choose how I want to learn.
I'm more independent. It helps me way more because I actually learn it.
I think the biggest part was a mindset change for teachers and students, where failure was a part of the process and not a conclusion, and where students could take accountability for their learning, and they had the freedom to learn at their own pace and how they could learn the material.
A lot of people say it's like all on computers, but that's not really what it is.
Last year in Summit, I did a project about injustices in the community, and it was about cyberbullying. So I just thought I should make a film, and that would probably tell more people about cyberbullying than just a trifold that's going to be at the school only. Where this film could be shared like anywhere. Anyone can look it up online. That's one of my favorite projects because I got to took filming, which was one of my favorite hobbies, and put it into a project. I took the video, I've inserted it in a few film contests. I posted it on YouTube and Amazon, and it's also on IMDb. After I get out of high school, I want to go to University of Florida and take a film class. I really thought about what I want to do in my future.
Usually when students are doing something out in the community, it's something that's told to them. Now students are coming to me with proposals, presentations, young men with bow ties on, wanting to talk to me about projects that they want to do in the community that have a connection with what they're learning in class.
I love my mentor.
I love having a mentor.
I think all students should have a mentor because it's better to tell your mentor what's going on, like you're getting bullied or something. It's better to tell them how you feel about it.
She is an amazing mentor because she talks to you, and it's not all about school. This year I feel like more comfortable talking about personal life. You're like growing more of like a friendship with your teacher, someone that you can trust, talk to if something goes wrong.
She really just checks on how we're doing outside of school, inside of school, like every week. She checks on if we're ahead, if we're off track. She checks on how we're treating other people.
Daily goals, I think about weekly goals. I even think about future goals. I'm always setting goals for myself and always trying to meet that goal. And if I don't meet that goal, I reset it and I say, okay, I didn't meet this goal today, but I want to try to meet it tomorrow.
I've seen a huge change in our students. They're more engaged in classrooms. Students are talking about the content. They're being involved. They're coming to my office wanting to do community projects, do service learning projects, wanting to show me the projects that they're working on.
Okay, so I'm going to sum it up as quickly as succinctly as I can. Some things hopefully you remember, take out of here with all this other stuff you heard tonight. With this curriculum program at Apprentice Academy, there's only two important people in the building. One is the student, the other one is the teacher. The role of myself and our assistant principal who you meet in the future, Kelly Kenner, our role is to remove all the obstacles from the learning and the teaching. Only three things you remember tonight, leaving here, about what does this mean for my child. And it's the three components of summer learning we just talked about tonight. One is, no matter where my child is functioning academically, physically, wherever my child is at, they will have a mentor to get them through this, to get them through. Second one, the other major component to it is how they get to learn, through project-based learning. So what does that mean for my child? That the majority of their grade in school be based on what they show the teacher that they know. And the third thing to come away with is my child will be a self-directed learner, which means they will be able to learn for them, by themselves, if they have to, for themselves, and for their future. That's what I've got. Any questions? Anything? I don't know. So, I know there's a lot of information out there, but yes, ma'am.
So they are going to be issued computers?
Correct. Well, Chromebooks, yes, but computers, absolutely. Well, I mean, there is a difference, but yeah, but no, they're going to be Chromebooks, yes. Any other questions? And it doesn't have to be about this, it could be about anything. Yes, sir. Okay. I'm not the builder, but I will relate to you what I was told at our last construction meeting. The builder is saying that the building will be completed on October 26th. And then you take into account all the permitting, because the physical construction's done, then you have to go through all the permitting and all that stuff, and that should be sometime mid to late November, which, if that all goes according to plan, when you all are home for winter break, we all will be moving into the building, because a lot of furniture and all kinds of stuff that got to go in there. So when you're in Florida or whatever, Disney World for those 2 weeks, we'll be putting the stuff. But the caveat is, if they move according to schedule. Yes, ma'am. Well, the calendar is on the website, if that's what you're referring to. Yeah. But the schedules will be probably, they'll for everybody. They'll be done by the week before school. So I mean, I've met with a lot of students so far to go over their schedules, but I have met with everybody. So throughout the summer, I'll be meeting with parents. But there is no dress code in the sense that you're thinking that is required dress wear. You could wear whatever you want to school, as long as it's appropriate and it's not crazy. And what I say by crazy, if you as a student, if you're going to come to school and you're going to wear something that is a distraction, like you're going to promote smoking or drinking or something like that, that's an example of you being crazy. And we'll have a conversation, a one-on-one. But I'd say the simplest way to think about it is when you wake up in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're asking yourself, based on what I'm dressing, am I going to be the center of attention because what I'm wearing, everyone's going to pay attention to me instead of the teacher? And if your answer is yes, then don't wear it. It's really that simple. But otherwise, they'll just be one-on-one conversations, and because if you have the dress code, you have to have consequences. You have to have consequences. Well, dress codes mean policy. Policy means consequences. Consequences can include up to and including an out-of-school suspension, and I cannot bring myself to suspend a kid because they refuse to comply with a dress code. So, I'm a firm believer that students will rise to the occasion. They won't drop, they'll rise to it. So I'm not really too worried about that. Yes, ma'am.
For all the classes that are here,
yes.
You'll take 4 classes per term? Correct?
Yes.
And will Monday through Friday be the same every day?
Yes, well, Monday through Thursday. And Friday, I'm looking to use that as our mentor day, but when I complete the master schedule. But yes, there'll be that's how it is in high school. I know some people have gone to different high schools, private schools. They do a lot of things. The vast majority of high schools nowadays do what they call a 4x4 block. You have 4 blocks, 90 minutes each. You split them up into a semester. But some students are used to going, a year long. You start a class in August and it finishes in June. So the majority of our courses will be on that semester 4x4 block schedule. But as an example, one that'll be year-long is our foreign language, because you cannot learn foreign language in a semester, so that'll be an entire year.
So she has 2 students that are going to go into 11th grade, and her question is, since you start the apprenticeship in 11th grade, are they going to be prepared once they graduate to start a job after that?
It depends on the career field they pick. So, but they will have, depending on the career, they'll have to take, they may not be able to do the apprenticeship until the senior, because they'll have to take the basic courses as an 11th grader. Anything else? Okay, well, I appreciate you all coming out tonight, and hopefully stay tuned over the summer. We want to have some social events, keep people going, and keep everyone motivated for August 26th, because everyone has to be here on August 26th.